Today, in the media conference with Lal Goyal, which is brought to you by V4 News, Global TV, V4 Stream, News गांव से संवाद सरोकार News, Organ Donation India Foundation and Gyan. Our endeavor is to enlighten you with the current topic. And today's topic is role of youth in decision making. But before I will go to the main topic, I would like to inform you that today the world is observing Zero Discrimination Day. March 1st is Zero Discrimination Day, an annual worldwide event that promotes diversity and recognizes that everyone counts. Zero Discrimination Day is an annual day celebrated by the United Nations and other international organizations. The day aims to promote equality before the law and in practice throughout all of the members countries of the United Nations. The day was first celebrated on March 1st, 2014. In February 2017, UNAIDS called on people to make some noise around zero discrimination to speak up and prevent discrimination from standing in the way of achieving ambitions, goals, and dreams. Media conference with Lal Goyal wish that Zero Discrimination Day achieves its objectives at the earliest. Now coming to our main topic, role of youth in decision making. इच्छाएं तो अनंत हैं, होते कई विकल्प, जो इच्छा है काम की, उस पर हो संकल्प. This is short poem was especially written by Mr. Paramatmanand Pandey Matwala for today's program, and he is president of Utho Jago Foundation. He is a journalist and a farmer. In psychology, decision making is regarded as the cognitive process resulting in the selection of a belief or a course of action among several possible alternative options. It could be either rational or irrational. Decision-making process is a reasoning process based on assumptions of values, preferences, and beliefs of the decision maker. Every decision-making process produces a final choice which may or may not prompt action. Decision making is the process of making choices by identifying a decision, gathering information, and assessing alternative resolutions. Using a step-by-step decision-making process can help you make more deliberate through thoughtful decisions by organizing relevant information and defining alternatives. This approach increases the chances that you will choose the most satisfying alternative possible. Effective youth participation is about creating opportunities for young people to be involved in influencing, shaping, designing, and contributing to policy and the development of service and programs. These opportunities are created through developing a range of formal and informal mechanisms for youth participation, from youth advisory groups to focus groups, from ongoing consultation work to supporting youth-led projects. There are many reasons for including young people in decision making. Youth participation means better decisions and increased efficiency. Evidence shows that policies and programs designed after consultation with users are more likely to be effective. By youth participation means to get it right the first time and avoid wasting time and money on services young people don't want to use. Giving young people a place in decision making builds a broader base of citizen involvement and creates stronger, more inclusive communities. Youth participation is necessary in the development of active citizenship because it balances young people's social fights and their responsibilities. Research shows that young people who are supported to participate in the decision making are more likely to have increased confidence and self-belief, exercise positive career choices, and have greater involvement and responsibility in the future. Youth participation challenges negative stereotypes of young people and help break down barriers between adults and young people. Involving young people in decision making can improve attitudes towards understanding about young people and create a greater awareness of youth issues in an organization. Youth who are given the opportunities to work in a partnership with adults to make important decisions gain valuable life skills in planning, teamwork, and leadership, build their confidence, and increase their level of community investment and participation. A nation takes birth when its citizens agree on its existence and unite as a single entity, working mutually to build the nation into prosperity. Since time immemorial, the essence of Indian philosophy was and is of inclusiveness. Free thought was encouraged to take place, whether it be against the mainstream or questioning the existing belief systems of the masses. The vision of taking our nation to new heights is constitutional, whether it be a conservative nationalist or a liberal with a cosmopolitan view. The problem which exists is of believing that only one ideology can be fruitful and the other should be suppressed, moreover, eradicated. The truth is always multifaceted and there are numerous ways to reach it. The radicalization of our youth is taking our nation backward and annihilating the true Indian identity instead of building it. The divisions are of unending sorts of our country. This categorically ramshackle makes the individual think of his faction before the country. Why is a person taught this categorical segregation first, and then when he learned it, he is later taught that in the land he was born is his nation. It is not a question about identities, but the belief systems it makes the person believe in. A nation is built on principles, and on those principles, the nations move forward. To give this argument sufficient proof and something more than a discussion of ethos, the Kaizen principle followed by the Japanese is a prime example which resulted in their revolution. To build this nation towards glory, there is a need for reforms in our society as well as the economy. But the question which arises is, what is meant by nation building? Collins Dictionary states nation building refers to the government policies that are designed to create a strong sense of national identity. Different people have different interpretations of the word nation building. Even though they have diverse interpretations, they have the some intent of building the nations. The diverse interpretations includes good governance, joining army, economic and financial prosperity of middle and lower classes, cultural upliftment, industrial development, politics with grassroots participation, better education and increased standard of living. But many times these different categorical interpretations result in conflicts that lead to hampering the process of nation building. Thus, the need of the hour for the nation is focusing on all these aspects to build the nation, with the youth playing a significant role. One of the most important elements of good governance is of quality, equality, and inclusiveness. In India, there is a representation from all sections of the society, but one, that is the representation of youth, in our government lacks miserably. Even the Ministry of Youth Affairs, which was formed for the welfare of the youth, had the youngest person to chair it at the age of 46 years and the oldest at 76 years of age. India is a young country, but its leaders are not. For the last 20 years, the average age of member of parliament MP has been 50, and it is continuously rising. The minimum age to contest Lok Sabha election is 25 years, which implies half of the youth population is not eligible to contest national elections. In contrast, at the age of 21, a person is eligible to become an IAS officer, that is to be the person with the most power in a district bureaucratically. Similarly, at the age of 17 and a half, one can join the Indian Navy and the armed forces. And at 17, you can join the Air Force. So at about 18 years of age, youth are old enough to fight for their nation and represent the nation at international borders, but not old enough to represent the youth and participate in decision making in the parliament. If colleges can create engineers, doctors, then why not leaders? The youth who are not connected to the political system in any way get a chance to be the leaders when they enter the collegial system of politics. They get an opportunity to represent themselves, govern a body at a micro level, and from their own policies and strategies of prosperity. It gives them a political consciousness and idea of the working of democracy and shapes them for future positions. But the candidacy age being 25 creates a 3 years gap for them to contest elections. But if this candidacy age is reduced to 21 or even 18, these collegiate leaders can take support from their vote base and even from the constituency they are contesting from. The nations we consider as developed have higher median age in terms of population, but the age of candidacy is lower. The age of candidacy is 18 in Germany, Australia, and UK. Even developing nations like Brazil has a candidacy age of 18. The same demographic has been governing India for 70 years, and the greatest resource of our country remains underutilized and underrepresented. The solution to this problem of underrepresentation is two-way. The first being the stigma of entering politics, and the other being the reformation of the legal framework which restricts the age of candidacy to 25. There is a lack of awareness about the prevailing ageism, so the foremost role the youth have it to make this issue known to every other youth and the leaders representing them. The youth should demand equality and the opportunity to represent themselves. If the masses of students and young professionals ask for the age bar to be lowered and a responsible young politician raises this issue in the parliament, there can be a possibly an amendment to the Representations of People's Act, and it will prove the way for the youth to turn the nation around. So if awareness is created at all levels, then it will create a dominoes effect and the necessary changes will take place. If the representation of youth changes significantly in the coming future, then the youth who gets the right to vote at 18 years of age will play even a more significant role. They won't be only participating in selecting their leaders, but they themselves can become the leaders. The need and desires will voiced in the parliament, and the youth would be building a nation for the future of the country. Young minds with the intellect and experience of the elder leaders can shape the best future of India. To discuss today's very, very important topic, the role of youth in decision making, we have few youth guests with us, but we also have a chief guest, and he is Dr. Janeshwar Pai Marur. Dr. Pai is MBA, MPhil, PhD. He is a professor at Justice K.S. Hegde Institute of Management, NITTE. He has qualified KSET management examinations conducted by University of Mysore in 2013. He has over 18 years of industry teaching and research experience. He has worked as lecturer at SDM College of Business Management and Postgraduate Centers, for Management Studies and Research, Mangalore from 2003 to 2006. He has worked with JP Morgan Chase Bank in India and Newark, Delaware, USA corporate office from 2006 to 2012. His teaching and research areas include behavioral and corporate finance, enterprise risk management, and corporate taxation, and has a strong exposure in practical knowledge of various statistical packages such as SPSS, MATLAB, etc. He has published research papers in national and international journals and also presented research papers in various national and international conferences, seminars, and workshops. He is a life member of Indian Institute of Banking and Finance, IIBF, Mumbai, Management Teachers Consortium Global, MTC Global, Bengaluru, International Association of Academicians and Researchers, INAAR, Pune, Indian Academicians and Researchers Association, IARA, Assam, and Federation of Indian Professional Trainers, FIPT, New Delhi. Welcome, Dr. Janeshwar Pai on our show. Dr. Janeshwar Pai, we all talk about the role of youth in decision making, but the fact in actuality, they are nowhere. Although some statistics says that below 45 years of age, we have 65% population belongs to youth. They are in majority, but in fact, they are in minority when we are talking of decision making, whether it is at the level of colleges, universities, local bodies, legislative councils, or MLAs or MPs, wherever. They are treated as a second or third grade citizens of the country. The fault lies with them, not with the senior citizens. Because if you don't want to come in the mainstream, then the senior citizens can't help. To discuss the role of youth in decision making, we would like to know your views. Role of youth in decision making, Dr. Janeshwar Pai Marur, please.
Thank you, sir, for your wonderful introductory remarks. Let me start my points. To quote Kofi Annan, the Secretary General of United Nations, rightly said, no one is born a good citizen. No nation is born a democracy. Rather, both are processes that continue to evolve over a lifetime. So young people must be included from their birth. A society that cuts off from its youth, severs itself its lifeline, it is condemned to bleed to death. These are the strong points given by Kofi Annan, the Secretary General of United Nations. So good morning, respected Shri Lal Goyal ji, Chairman, Organ Donation India Foundation, and Gyan, young youth guests, and my dear participants. At the outset, I would like to thank Lal Goyal ji for inviting me as a chief guest for this unique and wonderful media conference on such a relevant and vibrant topic, the role or participation of youth in decision making. So let me start my introductory speech with a small Sanskrit Subhashita, or a pearl of Sanskrit wisdom. It says, I start my Subhashita. It says, Lalayet Panchavarshani, Dashavarshani Tadayet, Prapte tu Shodashe Varshe, Putram Mitravadachare. I repeat, Lalayet Panchavarshani, Dashavarshani Tadayet, Prapte tu Shodashe Varshe, Putram Mitravadachare. So if I were to translate, Lalayet Panchavarshani, that is, indulge a child for its first 5 years. Dashavarshani Tadayet, that is, discipline him or her for the next 10 years. Prapte to Shodashe Varshe, that means when the child attains, or on attaining the age of 16, right? Putra Midravadacharye, that is, treat him or her like a friend. So to continue, this is the English translation of this particular Subhashita. When our children are young, under the age of 5, they are very, very innocent. I have a daughter who is just 5 years old. They are very innocent, godly, I would say garden fresh and divine. So indulging them and yielding to their desires, whims, fancies are all acceptable up to the age of 5. However, as they start growing, they begin to see the world around them and start exploring their limits sometimes. So yielding to all their desires, be it right or wrong, will only bring harm to them. So if they do not have a parent or an adult like we that guides and helps them to make right choices, there are every possibility or chances that they might land up doing a wrong decision. And after all, we need to understand this is what is the human tendency. If there is no person to guide, we land up making wrong decisions. So children might find it uncalled for, but they will soon realize the reasons for discipline as they mature into responsible adults. That will happen over a period of time gradually. So discipline is essential, especially in setting up moral grounds, that is telling lies, being hurtful to others, so etc. should be nipped in the bud actually for the kids, right? So when right morals are instilled in the child at the age of say young age, what happens is the parents can be sure that they have carried out their duties responsibly, effectively as parents. There will be some sigh of relief that I've done my moral duty towards my kids. So once children attain 16 years of age, now they are the youth, right? Now that is the right time to start treating them as friends, or call it as partners in the process, or call it as the buddies, while having faith that all indulgences and disciplining that was performed in the past years have now taken part in sculpting a loving, caring, and responsible youth. And whose responsibility? It is the responsibility of the adult, or the elders. So children brought up like this turn out to be wonderful contribution to any given society, and that's where we live in, right? Now, if I were to go by the census report of 2011, that's the latest census report we have been referring. India is a very, very young nation. I think Shri Lal Goyal ji sometime back said, no, we are having a lot of youth. Now, when I say youth, I'm from the management research background. So I would say the operational definition of a youth for me is someone who's aged between 10 or 12 or up to 24 years, right? Others don't fall in the bucket of the youth. These constitute 34% of India's total population, while 75% of them are under the age group of 35. And this is growing at the rate of 2% from 2009. That is, for the past 12 years, this has been the trend in terms of the census report. The fact is that youth under the age of 18, I'm not talking about people who have crossed 18 years of age who are voting right now, under the age of 18, represent almost 26% of the population. So although they are not old enough to vote, they have a large stake in decision that will affect the future of community in which they live. After all, we need to understand youth are the future of communities in which they live, right? So we have to respect the views of people who are under 18 as well, which account for 26% of India's population. Now comes the biggest question, biggest $1 million question. What are the consequences of failing to give young people a voice? This is a matter of concern, and I, as chief guest, would like to put 3 points across with due explanation. Number one, adults can abuse their power over children and young people or the youth. So adults in positions of authority over children and youth can and do abuse their power sometimes. The cultural assumption, I mean, where we have been brought up in Indian culture, the cultural assumption in India and to some extent worldwide is that young people must not challenge their elders or express their views, even when their rights being even when their rights are being violated, has increased their vulnerability to dangers such as economic exploitation and forced participation in sex trade. This has been rampant, particularly in northern side of India. If we now tell, it is now well documented that millions of children and young people in countries across the globe are both physically and sexually exploited and abused within by their own family members. That's very, very shocking. Girls in particular are exposed to frequent sexual assaults by their family members in some parts of the world, and they can't even voice it out openly. Second point is adults do not always act in young or youth best interest. This is my second point. Do not always act in youth's best interest. Actions detrimental to the well-being of youth occur not only through the deliberate abuse or neglect. Adults across professional spectrum have been responsible for decisions and policies and actions that have been inappropriate and sometimes harmful to the young people, even when the underlying intentions have been to promote their welfare. That means, in the name of welfare, there has been a lot of exploitation happening. These actions are characterized by a consistent failure to consult or involve young people themselves in the total decision making process. The third point that I would like to put across is parents' right have priority over children and the young people. This is my third point. Parents' rights have priority vis-a-vis the rights of the youth or the children. Public policy often gives precedence to the rights and interests of parents over the children and young people, even when the consequences do some detrimental to their welfare. Parents as adults and voters have more powerful influence and greater access to public officials and the decision making process than that of the young people. For example, let me give an example. Say the physical punishment of children. I'm sure everybody knows it. And we've got enough beatings both from our parents as well as teachers during our childhood. The physical punishment of children and young people remains legally sanctioned practice in most countries throughout the world, even though the Committee of Rights of the Child has clearly stated that it represents violation of human rights. Parents defend sometimes its use by citing the need to impose effective discipline, but it is rare that young people's views on corporal punishment are solicited or factored into punishment into policy development, right? So these are three strong points which I would like to put across. Lal Goyal sir, am I audible? Am I audible? I hope there is no. Fine.
Please go ahead. You are
Yes,
audible.
thank you. So meaningful youth participation provides real opportunities for youth to become involved in decisions that affect their lives and their communities. So I want, there are a lot of youths in this particular forum. I want every youth to please go through this youth activism website, right? According to this website, that is youthactivism.com, benefits of involving youth, that youth is involved. Why? Because they serve as role models and peer educators, right? Second one is they diagnose problems. They diagnose problems and provide reality check. Challenge conventional thinking. They challenge the conventional thinking, the orthodox thinking that we say. They influence their parents and the adults. Fifth, they attract news media and coverage. That's why Lal Goyal sir is here and we are here to give our presentations right now, right? Sixth one is capture the attention of decision makers, right? Pursue orthodox tactics and circumvent roadblocks. I think all these are happening because of the change mindset brought in by the youth. Now, I would like to talk about participation or involvement. Now, role of youth in decision making. So I think there is some mention of the word participation. And I was recently reading a model given by Roger Hart. Roger Hart has given something called as ladder of participation. I think this is one of the fantastic model which I've ever come across. This is such a beautiful model wherein it is popularly called as Roger Hart's ladder of participation. He talks about from tokenism to citizenship, right? He proposes 8 levels of participation. The lowest level is called as the manipulation. Second one is called as the decoration. Third one is called as the tokenism. So these are the lowest level of participation and they are not true participation. The real participation happens from fourth level, wherein it is all about assigned but informed, right? That's fourth level. Fifth level is consulted and informed. Sixth level is adult initiated shared decisions with the youth. Seventh one is youth initiated and directed. And eighth one is youth initiated, shared and decisions with the adults. So these are the 8 levels. Now, my concern is the bottom 3, that is manipulation, decoration and tokenism, are the lowest level and they are not real participation. They are only in the name of participation. That's it. The latter 5 levels, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8, are the top rungs. They are the true description of participation. Now, now people usually wonder, what exactly is manipulation? Now, if I were to describe manipulation, manipulation is where adults use youth to support causes and pretend that the causes are inspired by youth. This is a nasty participative method. The next one is decoration. Just see the way how it sounds. The word itself is sounding like that. Decoration. What happens in decoration? So decoration is where people are used to help or bolster a cause in relatively indirect way, although adults do not pretend that cause is inspired by the youth. Right? Again, this is not participation. Third one is tokenism. Tokenism is where young people appear to be giving a voice, but in fact, they have little or no voice of what they do or how they participate. The fourth one, that is, as I said earlier, assigned but informed, is where youth are assigned a specific role and informed about how and why they are being involved. Is this nice? It's good. The next one is consulted and informed. Now, what happens in consulted and informed is that youth gives advice and projects on projects and programs designed and run by adults, right? The youth are informed about how their input will be used and outcomes of the decisions are made by the adults only. And we are heading towards the top participation, that is the sixth one, that is adult initiated shared decisions with the youth, is when projects or programs are initiated by adults, but decision making is shared with the young people or the youth subsequently. This is not great though. The seventh and the eighth one are the real good participative decision making process. That is the youth initiated and directed. This happens when people, youth or the young people initiate and direct a program or a project. Adults are involved only at a supportive role. This is fantastic. The last one is youth initiated shared decisions with adults, is when projects or programs are initiated by youth. Decision making are shared amongst youth and the adults, right? Now, these projects empower youth while at the same time enabling them to assess and learn from the life experience and expertise of the adults. So these are the Rogers' 8 levels of participative decision-making process. I think this is very, very interesting. Now, in a world where 1 in every 4 persons is a youth, every democratic system needs to absorb the aspirations of this vibrant and energetic group. The significant number of youth population in India acted as a simulator for India's growth and rightly pointed out by our former president of India, Dr. Zakir Hussain. Dr. Zakir Hussain was the third president of India and he had deep understanding of Indian political system. He rightly said, youth form the vanguard of the nation, which when properly channelized shall be instrumental for the development of the country. This assumes significance when civic or the civil societies who are necessary change agents are, this is very important, are run by youth only or have active youth involved. Then only things make a huge difference. Now, at the time when countries of the world are undergoing process of democratization, where civil societies are playing a significant role, countries have placed enormous responsibilities and expectations on the youth. Understanding the challenges and difficulties which youth encounters in the world, the United Nations, the UN, has developed the World Program of Action for Youth in 2000 to improve the situation of youth in different countries and have identified that full and effective participation of youth in the life of the society and decision making as a major priority area for intervention. So these are some of my key observations. So going about with my talk on. Now, this is a major case which I want to present as a part of my introductory speech. On August 15, 2020, that is on our Independence Day on 2020, last year, during the pandemic, our Prime Minister Sri Narendra Modi announced that a committee has been set up to reconsider the minimum age of marriage for girls, which is right now 21. And there has been a proposal to change the minimum age of marriage for girls. India's maternal mortality age rate, that is called as MMR, is alarmingly high and increasing the age of marriage from 18 to 21 with the intent to delay the age of first conception seems to be the government's plan to solve the problem of MMR. Now there is a problem of maternal mortality rate problem and government wants to enhance the age of marriage from 18 to 21. In fact, the said committee has already been meeting. They have invited research experts, academic, doctors, civic society organization, lawyers into the discourse. But what's happening is the key stakeholder, Now, whose voices are yet to be fully considered are the young people of India. That is the girl, right? They are not being discussed completely. Now, I would like to quote one of the quote given by Miss Dulali. She is a girl who's 17 years, and I think she's somewhere from the northern part of India. She rightly said this: the government can keep engaging in these discussions about making the age from X to Y and all that. But who's asking the girls? This is the question that she is asking, right? The government must leave this decision up to the girls. She is capable of taking this decision wisely. The government just needs to create a good opportunity and a support services for her, and rest of them will automatically fall in place. This is what Ms. Dulali had to say. Now, India is currently witnessing demographic explosion with almost 550 million people below the age of 35 years, right? At the same time, with the advent of our communication technology, ICT, there is information explosion as well, which has drastically reduced the gap between the young people and the oldies or the adults. Young people are now fully aware. They are opinionated. They are decisive. They are aspirational. And it's a time to acknowledge this and go beyond the demographic dividend thinking that penetrates the youth discourse today. On the other hand, we have pinned all the hopes of nation building on our youth. And on the other hand, like in case of decision of age of marriage, we do not deem it necessary to consider the opinion of youth on matter that will directly affect them. We take again the decision that is imposed on the youth by the adults or the old people. Now, with the vision to amplify voices, young voices, and to ensure right to decision making, you'll not believe 96 civil society organizations from 15 odd states across India initiated a process to understand what people really thought about the proposed change of age of marriage. The variety of responses from almost 3,000 young people, that is from 12 years to 22 years of age, mostly from rural areas, urban slums, SC, ST, OBCs, and minority communities, highlighted their nuanced understanding of this complex issue of marriage as an institution. A large number of youth pointed out how poverty, lack of options, education, employment opportunities are affecting them, making early marriage seem like a viable option for the parents and often to the young people themselves. Forget even the parents pushing. Now, young people themselves feel that it's better to get married. They spoke of girls being seen as a burden or a liability and how that impacts their lives. They refer to the criminalization of consensual sexual relationship of young people, the impact of COVID in is having on their lives, and what needs to be done to support them in during all these times. The common thread, this is something which is like the most. The common thread emerging was young people's lack of choices and ability to make aspirations and decisions on matters which impact their lives, marriage, relationship, education, and career choices. Now, what these young people have reminded us. Now it's a time that we adults sit back and see what these young people remind us is that they do not need oldies to take decision for them. They do not need adults to take decision for them. But we need to create a space for them to develop the agency to take effective decision for themselves and the community, and rest of them will fall in place. Lal Goyal sir, shall I
Right.
continue for?
No, I think we will take you in the next round. So
Yes,
then
sir.
you can
Yes.
thank you very much, Dr. Pai, for giving your views. Although I disagree with you for one point when you say that the small children or even the youth can be beaten up or scolded by the elders for their benefit.
Yes.
In countries like USA, UK, and Europe,
Yes.
not even a small child, even no one can shout, even the parents, if they will shout, if the child will say, or the neighbor will report to the
True.
police will take the parents, they will
True.
behind the bar. In India, we have that liberty, which is a wrong thing. After all, they are humans. We must treat them very, very empathetically. We should not treat them as I will not use the
Bacha.
word animals, because even the animals
Bacha,
are
bacha,
be treated.
yeah.
No one should be treated. And
with gratitude and respect.
that is a very bad practice in our society. Although those who are now educated, they are not doing this thing, but still lots of things to be improved in our society. We should change the mindset of the society. No child should be given
Abused.
any type of punishment whatsoever, such type of punishment, whether you can explain to them. See, after all, the child requires some explanation. You have to explain, but not to beat them
Abuse.
or to scold them or abuse them. Thank you very much, Dr. Marur, for your very inspirational and motivational views on the role of youth in decision making. Now, let's see what the youth says themselves, because they are the main stakeholder, as you have mentioned. So we will listen from them, and I would like to invite my first guest, and she is Miss Anya Mishra. Anya Mishra, please unmute yourself, Miss Anya Mishra. Can you hear me? Miss Mishra, can you hear me? No, I think some problem is there. Then I would like to go to my next youth guest, and he is Mr. Mishbah Ahmad. Mr. Ahmad, please unmute yourself.
Hello, sir.
Yes, Mr. Ahmad, you have heard what our chief guest has spoken. So now we would like to know from you your views on role of youth in decision making. Mr. Mishbah Ahmad, please first introduce yourself and then give a talk. Yes, Mr. Ahmad.
First of all, I'd like to express my gratitude to Mr. Goyal for letting me in this wonderful show. I would like to thank all my colleagues here who are present in this meeting, as well as Mr. Janeshwar Pai, sir, Dr. Janeshwar Pai, sir. I would like to start with Mr. Swami Vivekanand and what he said during his journey in Osaka. He addressed the youth and he told them that he wanted two things from them. First thing was muscles built up from iron, and the next thing was the nerves of steel. So according to him, the muscles of iron could be built by physical work, could be doing some labor, doing something to contribute physically to the society, like helping someone physically, aiding someone, working with them. But the thing about nerves of steel, how to develop nerves of steel? So the nerves of steel could be developed only by letting the youth decide for themselves, letting the youth take the baton and let them lead the people of our country, right? So that's what Swami Vivekananda wanted from the youth. So how can we develop nerves of steel? The nerves of steel could only be developed by empowering the youth and telling them to be the decision maker, to aid them, to help them in becoming the decision maker that they want to be. The main problem lies here initially is from the parents. The parents themselves, first of all, decide that what is right and what is wrong for their child. As Mr. Janeshwar Pai earlier said, I would like to cite that from the age of 5 to 10, we would like to, discipline our children. So in the discipline process, there needs to be some guidance process regarding how to become a decision maker. So if we don't decide, if we don't let our children decide how to become a better decision maker, they don't know how the process itself naturally works. So what we in our country have experienced, what I myself have experienced, what my friends and colleagues have experienced here is parents making choices for themselves. Like some parents want their children to become an engineer. They don't want to consult what the child himself wants to become or what he doesn't want to become. So the problem lies itself within the parents, first of all, that they don't know what the children wants and they want to impose their wants on them. They see an ideal picture of themselves and their child and what they want their child to become, but they don't know what the child himself or herself wants to become. So this is the first of the and foremost problem that needs to be addressed, and it can only be addressed by the parents of our country, right? So the parents needs to help the child in aiding the decision-making process. Now I would like to move on and just share what Akbar, one of Mughal emperors, did. when Akbar was very small, all of his decisions were made from Mr. Bairam Khan. So the Bairam Khan used to make decisions for Akbar. But once Akbar thought that, yeah, it is his age to mature and he can make a decision for himself, he told Bairam Khan that he is now eligible to take a decision for himself and he can lead the country. So here comes my next point, which is the youth himself or herself needs to take the charge. Without himself or herself taking the charge, the youth, the adults won't know what the youth want, and they would themselves automatically keep on imposing their wants and needs and their decisions on the youth itself. So the youth should be a little bit brave, be a little bit bold. Youth are known for energy, motivation, and their emotion, but the boldness aspect is also needed in the youth. So the youth should also become bold and put their decisions that, yeah, this is right for me, this is right for our community, and fight a little bit, not argue, not rebel that much, but fight a little bit in order to become the leader, become the decision maker. I would like to end my views and hand over the baton to Mr. Lal Goel. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mishab Ahmed, for giving your views. You rightly said about the family. Yes, the family, instead of imposing their own views on the children, they must allow the child to think. Yes, they can give the suggestions and let the child will evolve and decide what career she or he wants to take. Thank you very much, Mr. Mishab Ahmed, for giving your views. Now, my next youth guest is Miss Anya Mishra. Yes, yes. Next, my guest, I know that you have unmuted yourself now. Miss Anya Mishra, you have heard our chief guest, Dr. Pai, as well as the earlier youth guest. Now, we would like to know from you your views on the role of youth in decision making. Please introduce yourself first and then speak.
I'm Anya Mishra. I study in class 8 in St. Teresa School in Bangalore. So I'll be talking about the role of youth in decision making. So I'll start. We have a powerful potential in our youth, and we must have the courage. To change old ideas and practices so that we may direct their powers towards good ends. These words are rightly said by Mary Bacon. A very warm and healthy good morning to one and all. The average age of the Indian population is 27 years, and there are 51% of the population which come under the age of 25 years. This goes on to show that India is a country of youth, and that is what differentiates it from the other countries around the world. Think about the potential India has if it can harness this potential to the betterment of the society. One of the ways to harness this potential is to empower them and bring them into the decision-making process. Think about Microsoft. It is changing the way in which we are working on the computers today. It is a prime example of how an innovative idea from a youth has changed the face of the world. This could not have been possible if a conducive environment had not existed for a talented youth like Bill Gates that allowed him to take a decision and change the world. There are several other examples that goes on to show that changes can be done by empowering youth in decision making. Recently, I read in an article how a group of youth in Mumbai is changing the dynamics of the people in the slums of Mumbai by effectively giving 1 hour of their time in teaching the children in the slums so that they can learn to read and write. This is yet another way for harnessing the potential of the youth's decision-making process. Let me give you an example of how an empowered youth can touch the grassroots of the Indian economy and serve for the betterment of the society. During the lockdown period, when the tomato prices fell down a steep dip, Nagamani, an independent farmer, was all distraught, so much so that she decided to plow off her entire field and did not bother to pluck the fruit. However, all her produce was purchased by a group of young professionals from Hyderabad who sold off her entire stock in handsome price in the city and compensated her for the same. This is just one initiative that I'm quoting. There are several other endeavors from the youths that have shown a positive impact when given a chance of exercising their decision-making ability. In my opinion, parents and teachers play a very important role in this decision-making process. I can quote my own example for an 8th grader like me. My parents and teachers encourages me to participate in events like this one, which is the first step in grooming towards an effective decision-making process. To conclude, I would like to say it is important to develop a very logical flow of decision-making, and it is only possible by active encouragement and a sense of confidence you get from your parents and teachers. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ms. Mishra. And I must compliment your parents as well as your teachers for giving that much confidence to you. Yes, this is what is required. If this type of environment is provided by the families, by the society to the youth, then definitely youth will have that much confidence. They can lead the country to in a very, very big way. But for that, the change, mindset change is required in the parents, in the society, not in the youth. Youth mindset change is required afterwards, but initial time when they are young, they must be provided the conducive environment so that they can take their own decisions. Thank you very much, Ms. Anya Mishra, and all the best for your future. Thank you very much, and God bless you. Now, I invite my next guest, youth guest, and next guest is Mr. Sandhya Sanjay. Are you there, Mr. Sandhya Sanjay? Mr. Sandhya Sanjay, are you there? No. Okay, so I will move to my next youth guest, and she is Sister Anima
Hello.
Minj. Yes, who is that? Mr. Sandhya Sanjay?
Sir,
Please,
Sanidhya.
Mr.
Sanidhya, sir.
Sanidhya Sanjay, switch on your video. Your
Hello.
video is not on. Please
Hello.
switch on your video, Mr. Sanjay. Okay, leave it. We will take you afterwards. First, you rectify your defects because you have joined very late. That's why we could not check your audio and video. That's why the problem. That's what this thing also required in the youth, that they should be punctual in time. When the time was given 10:10, they should have joined by 10:10, but few of them has joined as late as 10:30 or even after 10:30. That punctuality is also to be guided from the invited to them by the parents and the society from the very beginning. Thank you very much, Mr. Sanjay. You can join afterwards. Now, I would like to go to Sister Anima Minj. Sister Anima, you have already heard what our chief guest, Dr. Janeshwar Pai, as well as earlier youth guests have spoken. Now, we would like to know from you the role of youth in decision making. Sister Anima Minj, please.
Good morning to one and all. First of all, I would like to thank you, Mr. Goyal, sir, for giving me this opportunity. And as I have heard from Dr. Pai, I agree to him what he has said about the youth. And my opinion is life is a journey in which we come across with many choices, and we have to decide at every step, whether it is small choice or big choice, but we have to decide. For example, what to wear, to whom to go, and where to go. Everything we have to decide. So decision making plays a major role in our life. The daily decisions what we make create our own personal reality. Our decisions shape who we are as individuals. And when we decide uh, better for our life and we become good individual, it adds to the betterment of the nation. For youth, it is at most important because this period of life is very precious. We are at mid period of our life. When we were child, parents decided, as our chief guest has said, the Indian culture and the values that the parents look after the children and they decide for the child what to do, what child should do and what child should not do. And that helps us in the part of decision making. So with that, the child grows up and becomes youth. So as youth, I feel we are treated like a small child, and instead of becoming as friend to the youth, parents become like controlling the uh, children and youth and decide for them. But I feel as youth, we need to be as mature person, and the society also expect we should make a decision which is mature, and it is what is for me, what I like, what is my interest, and what will help my future. But most of the time what happens, since our upbringing is like that, we decide our decision based on fear, low self esteem, and lack of willpower. Most of the time our emotion controls our decisions. So for a example, choosing our subject, or choosing our college, our career, many times our parents decide what to choose, and that affects our decision. uh, Many times we are not fitting in that line, but we have to struggle. And there is a value in Indian culture that we should not counter question the elders, so we have to just listen to them and struggle within. So this is where it blocks our participation in decision making. So if they are brought up in a friendly way, or including decision making in the family itself, then the today's youth can be more fruitful, because youth are known for their creativity. They have lot of abilities, they have innovative thinkings, they have energy, ideas, dreams for their future. But they are influenced by the perception, the upbringing. They are fearful, they are very their self esteem is low. So that affects them to participate in the decision making. So decision making is a skill to make a good decision for ourselves. I feel uh, we need to uh, we need to take courage. Like to my young dear friends, I can tell that never make any decisions, because most of the time what happens when we are emotional, when we are angry, or when we are so much happy, we decide what is not applicable, and we make wrong choices. Then I also say that we must know our weakness, and accept ourselves as we are, so that we know what is our ability, what is our limitations, which blocks us to be ourselves, and take courage to face the consequence. Like many times we follow the crowd. If my friend is doing that, I will also go for that. Many times we know something is not right, which is not good for me. Like in the society, inequality is there. I know that is not for me, but still I cannot uh, stand up by myself, and I get lot of fear.
No, your net is weak, sister. Anyway, sister,
Others will
pl-
suppress me. They will
pl-
not like my. So we think that. Hello, sir. Can you hear me?
please conclude.
Okay. So I tell my friends, take courage and be who you are, and uh, take decisions for yourself, which will help to participate better in decision making.
Okay,
Thank you, sir.
thank you very much, sister Anima. You have not given your introduction. Can you just introduce yourself?
I am Sister Anima from Bihar. I am studying in School of Social Work, Roshni Nilaya, BSW. Thank you for giving me this opportunity.
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you. Mr. Sanjay, are you there now? If yes, please switch on your video. No, you are not there. Okay, so now I will go to my next youth guest, and she is Miss Swikriti. Miss Swikriti, you have heard our chief guest, Dr. Janeshwar Pai, as well as earlier youth guest. Now we would like to know your views on the role of youth in decision making. Miss Swikriti, please.
Yeah, sure. Thank you so much, Goel sir. First, I'd like to introduce myself. I'm Swikriti from Jalgaon Lake City University, pursuing BBA LLB honors, and I'm in my third years now. First and secondly, I'd like to thank you, Lal Goyal sir, the chairman of Organ Donation Foundation, and topic, and Mr. Jageshwar sir for bringing forth the bitter truth with such excellence. I'd also like to thank and extend my gratitude towards Gyan and the remaining member of the organizing committee for having approached us and conducting this web conference on such a ethically important matter. Since certain other topics have been, grounds have been touched about how this should be inculcated on part of the parents and even as individuals, I'd like to take forth this conference with the benefits of including youth in decision making. Firstly, it does bring forth fresh new ideas, which was very brilliantly stated by Goyal sir himself. Secondly, new perspectives on decision making, including more relevant information about the needs and interests of the youth. Thirdly, open and honest responses about the existing programs and service, because the youth here are critical about everything. So give better and honest responses about the current existing programs or services. Fourthly, additional human resources due to the sharing of responsibilities between the youth and the adult. Here, the youth is no amount of money, no amount of any other resources will help a country develop, but its own people. Then, greater willingness by youth to accept the services and messages of the programs and activities. And the last, greater credibility of the decision to both youth and the advocate. The youth participation increases the likelihood that the community's program and services will fit the needs of the youth. It gives young people a sense of belongingness to the community, promoting the youth's sense of responsibility and citizenship. It is an absolutely human behavior that if you are part of a society, a community, a section, or a cult, until unless you're involved in major decision making, you do not get the sense of belongingness and you do not feel responsible for that particular society. So, involvement of youth in such decision making is rather very important. Through youth participation in decision making, young people and adults can learn from each other. It is very mutual to find relevant and effective solutions of such solutions which in a general common ordinary a single person would have not thought even. In summary, communities that involve youth as respected leaders and participants in decision making can clearly experience the exuberance and excitement of a group of stakeholders who have unique abilities and experience to ensure decisions that affect youth and are well thought out, sustainable, and worthwhile endeavors. Adults that work in partnership with youth to make decisions can benefit from the energy and new ideas that youth bring on the table. Adults put their maximum effort in bringing a change, but youth are always critical and paranoid about what is happening. So they keep coming up with new ideas and new methods of change. But a mutual agreement between the two is just a way towards flying colors. Often adults work within the existing framework to solve a problem. It is not their fault because this has been a traditional method. But youth are usually less entrenched in a particular way of operating and are able to look at the organizational problems with new eyes, be it related to a particular organization or a nation at large, and provide new perspectives to solve a problem. Sometimes youth offer such suggestion on solution of and problems to adults or other sections that people might have not even considered, as I said before. Some very easy and very minute solution which even did not cross our mind or cross the table of discussion. Adults that serve in partnership with youth can also benefit personally in satisfaction of knowing that they have worked to make a positive impact in the lives of the youth. For example, I would like to state some examples which actually proves how youth have broken the myth or the stereotypical thoughts that age bars and young people cannot bring forth a change. For example, Mark Zuckerberg. He is the CEO of Facebook, as everybody knows. But when did he start? He started at the age of 18. Did anybody were had anybody discouraged him at the age of 18, 19 that you might not be able to succeed? We might have not been here in the era of Facebook, where Facebook is actually the root of social media existence. Next is in year 2005, everybody knows about WordPress. A few of us might even be using WordPress present today. Did he find it when he was only 21? So age is just a number here. Youth is the backbone of any nation. Youth can play an important role in the development of the society. Educated youth is unemployed. They are unable to participate in country's development because there is no quality education, and textbook and policies and curriculum differ across the country. And I am very glad that this has also, this particular note has also been discussed in the platform here. Thanks to you, Lal Goyal sir, that this should be inculcated from the very beginning. If you try to inculcate such a behavior at the age of 15, 16, 17 or 20, this is not possible. This has to be done since birth. Various major worldwide movements have been brought into action. Few like United We Dream, which actually bring forth the idea of immigrant rights, and the Turnout movement, the Young Activist app. Then I would also like to talk about one of our Indian guy fellows here. He was just 18 years old and has been included in the United Nations in the 2020 list of young leaders who promote sustainable development goals. So instead of just the parents pampering kids or preparing them for IITs or JEE or mains and pestering them for a particular career, which they might not even feel like doing, or teaching them some other standards of living, giving them a very expensive and costly things, and at the age of 12 and at the age of 15, I see little kids on, but there's something else they are missing too. Make them bold. Teach them how to take in charge, because these are the people on whom our country would be laying down in a few years. This is a generation which will be coming up. It is a common truth that your bike, your expenses, and your standard is not going to help you in the longer term, but your principles and how bold you are as a person from the very beginning. Your ethics, how strongly and how motivated you are to take the nation forward. At some point of time, when you're in the deathbed, you would not feel that I did not take up this trend, I did not take up this fashion, but you would be satisfied that I did contribute to this society. And it is I wish and I understand and I contemplate that that would be the most beautiful feeling. And it is so wonderful to see. I would like to mention Miss Ananya Mishra. She's just an 8th grader, somewhat like 12, 13 years old, but what she told was really bold and brilliant. And I would like to appreciate her parents personally for raising such a brilliant and bold girl. And I'm glad that we have such a wonderful generation coming back.
Okay.
With that, I would like to conclude that age is just a number. A 45-year-old man and woman can just crib over some sort of sari or some shares in the market, but a little kids like 16, 17 years old also can bring a change. Age is absolutely just a number. It is all about the brain. It is all about understanding how big we can make this world. With that, I'd like to conclude. Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you very much, Ms. Swikriti. Age is just a number. You rightly said. And when you are talking about the Facebook and other CEOs, you must try to understand one thing which is lacking in youth in India. Abroad, and I will not say that lacking in youth, but rather it's lacking in the parents. In abroad, in other countries, after the age of 12, they become independent. They start earning their pocket money, which is not here in India. That is the thing, because they are working even in a restaurant, in a petrol pump. They have no social stigma. How many youth can work here in a petrol pump for a part-time job or something like that? Very few, because nobody wants, the family doesn't want that they should go. And that is why the decision making in India is very, very slow. No youth are coming forward because they have not been trained for that. While they, in other countries, they become independent because they are earning their own money. They know what is the value of money. Here, as you said, yes, parents pamper the youth, but youth also wants to be pampered, because when they feel that is a free money coming to them, they want more gifts, more expensive gifts. They are not bothered that how the money the parents are earning. And vice versa, if you see, the parents are pampering and they are spoiling the career of their children, the life of the children, without knowing that this is spoiling. They should allow the child to start working, whether in their own home or wherever, from the age of 12. Then only, and for that, the laws to be changed. We have a child labor law. Who is going to change? When the youth will participate, if you will not participate, those senior persons, elderly
Exactly,
persons
sir.
of age of 70 or 80 or 90 years will not change. So the senior citizens are not going to change the laws which are beneficial for youth. For that youth has to come. Thank you very much, Ms. Swikriti, for giving your views.
Very rightly said, sir.
I'm
Rightly
sure
said.
that the youth like you will definitely change some mindset in the families and the society and the country. Thank you very much, Ms. Swikriti. Now, my next guest is Mr. Vishnu S., youth guest. Mr. Vishnu, as you have heard our chief guest, Dr. Janeshwar Pai, as well as the earlier youth guest. Now, we would like to know from you the role of youth in decision making. Mr. Vishnu S., please.
The foundation of every country is the education of its youth. The good morning to one and all. Respected Lal Joel sir, respected Chief Guest Pramod Pai sir, and all my dear friends. Me, myself, Vishnu S., a second year BSW student from School of Social Work, Roshni Nilaya, Mangalore, standing before you to deliver a speech about role of youth in decision making. Youth is a worthwhile phase of one's life, the age where the age group is no longer of a child, but yet to turn out to be a grown-up is a youth age. It is an age recognized by traits of heroism, toughness, muscle, stimulation, curiosity, judgmental attitude, and even much more. At this stage, even though driven by fantasy or freedom and the power to choose his or her response, all must be powerfully exercised. It is a golden phase to accomplish the dual goals of intelligence and character. Youth in present era is a powerful asset of the nation, possessing the abundant energy and zeal considering necessary for the overall advancement of the same. Youth is a critical age of development, a period of uncertainty when everything is ferment. As a youth is neither a child nor an adult, the personality possesses a mixture of both stages. He can be selfish at times or turn out to be selfless the very next day. He may also turn out to be rebellious one day. Youth develops a revolting personality, and thus we can see conflicts in opinions between the family. It is also a major cause of worsening of family relations. Youth, being argumentative in nature, develop an apt of rational and judgment. Thus, it denies accepting as a true in anything without an appropriate cause following the same. It is not that there is no lack of moral awakening or this total refusal to adhere to this ethical and moral standards. It is merely that he wants every question to be answered and his full quest, he accepts the same. As we know that the youth is the backbone of any nation, like youth builds the society. Youth can play an important role in development of the society. Effective youth participation is all about creating opportunities for young to be involved in influencing, shaping, designing, and contributing to the policy and development of services and programs. These opportunities are created through developing a range of formal and informal mechanisms for youth participation, from youth advisory groups to focus, from ongoing consultation work to supporting youth-led projects. There are many reasons for including youth in decision making. Giving young people a place in decision making builds a broader base of citizen involvement and creates stronger, more inclusive communities. Youth participation is necessary in the development of active citizenship because it balances young people's social rights with their responsibilities. Youth participation challenges negative stereotypes of young people and help break down barriers between adults and young people. Involving young people in decision making can improve attitude towards understanding about young people and create a general awareness of young youth issues in an organization. Youth participation is necessary in the development of active citizenship because it balances young people's social rights with their responsibilities. It recognizes their rights to express their opinions, to have their opinions considered in decisions that affect them to receive and give information and ideas. By this, I would like to conclude that all older men declare war, but it is the youth that must fight and die. These are the famous words of Matty Steinman. By the words of Herbert Hoover, I would like to conclude my speech by saying that youth is the hope of our future. The youth is the backbone of our society. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Vishnu. Yes, youth is the hope of the future and backbone of the society. But the backbone is not doing the work which they are supposed to do. Today, I can just give an example. I always repeat in all my youth conferences is that the first parliament of India, which was constituted in 1952, up to the age of 45, there was 26% MPs were there. and the present parliament, which was constituted last 2 years back, that is 2019, only 12% MPs are up to the age of 45. It's declining. The participation of youth are declining every year. So how youth think and youth inclusiveness and the participation and decision making and the policy making, it's not possible. It's very good for talking, it's a good thing for debate thing, but practically and the fault lies with the youth. Why? You are 65% population. If you decide to vote for the youth candidate only, if you say no party, no nothing, we are not only going to vote anybody who is above 45, youth will come in majority. No one can stop you. But you people are divided in party politics. Somebody is following A party, somebody is following B party, somebody is following C party blindly. If you are following blindly the leaders who are aged above 60, 65, 70, 80 years, then the future is yours. So if youth are not coming forward to vote for themselves, then who is going to vote for you? Then how you will think, or you means the youth, I'm talking for all of youth, that how they feel that they are going to be an active policy maker or the decision maker. For that, youth have to come forward. They have to decide. They have to come take active participation in the politics. Then only they can think that they can do it. And this will start from the very beginning, from your home. If you are not taking a proper decision, even for your any decision for your education or even for wedding, if youth will today decide that they will do this particular subject or they will do this course, then definitely the youth decision will be taken. So no need of putting pressure on the family that no, this is not the correct thing. Similarly, for the wedding, if youth will decide that they don't want dowry, no one will give. If the boys, I am telling very clearly to the boys, because the dowry has been given by the girl side. If the boy said no, if a single rupee will be taken as a dowry or single ornament will be taken as a dowry, I will not marry. Then what will happen? The parents have to change the decision. And for that, the youth has to take the decision. Here, the decision making, if you will not take the decision making at your home, how you would like to come and take the active participation in the society or in the political field or in the national level. So this is what is required. And I'm very thankful, and the views which has been given by the youth today are very vibrant. I'm sure our chief guest will also agree. Now I would like to go to our chief guest, Dr. Janeshwar Pai, for giving his concluding remark about how he felt today's youth, the conference, media conference with the youth, and how they have reacted and how they have expressed their views, and what is your opinion after this particular conference which he has held. Dr. Janeshwar Pai, please.
Yes, sir. Before I conclude, I would like to highlight some of the points which came from the youth guest today. I think Miss Anya Mishra, right? I seem to be a very empowered youth. She said that the youth should be involved in decision making by the adult. I like the way she quoted an example in Mumbai as to how education is provided by the youth to the kids in the slum area. That has transformed the very setup in the Mumbai slum area. I think that that is something which is the need of the hour, and youth need to take complete moral responsibility of the situation in hand, and ideally they should self-empower themselves. Mr. Ahmad spoke about how to develop nerves of the skill. He quoted Swami Vivekananda and said how to develop nerves of the skill by empowering youth to take natured life decisions rather than parents doing it for them. This is something which she said. Sister Anima Minaj from Bihar, she said that life is a journey and life comes with lots of choices. Even if youth takes decision, she expressed her concern on how youth are being controlled by adults, and that adults in society should respect the decisions of the youth. She said that youth is very creative, they are full of imagination, full of energy, and full of decision making. So this is the observation by sister. We had another youth, Swikriti. She said that something which liked me the most is she was very strong. She strongly endorsed her views with regard to the age. And she kept on stressing that age is just a number. It is all about using brain, right? Youth participation will increase if society promote interests of youth and involve them in decision-making process that will lead to a win-win situation for the adult as well as youth respectively. This is what she concluded. And last but not the least, speaker Vishnu, yes, he said youth can play important role in nation building activity and building inclusive communities. However, they are accountable to multiple stakeholders. And these were the strong views from our youth guests today. To summarize and conclude, I would say one thing. What we say naam ke vaste, token appreciation is meaningless, token participation is meaningless, as it does not empower young people to influence outcomes and achieve real change, right? So real participation, I was referring to the model that I proposed during my presentation, the 8th level, right? That is not the token participation. Communities that involve youth as respected leaders and participants in decision making can clearly experience the exuberance and excitement of a group of stakeholders who have unique abilities, experience to ensure decisions that affect youth thought out, sustainable and worthwhile endeavors. I would like to conclude saying, quoting Robert Kennedy, he said, "This world demands the qualities of the youth, not that of the old people. The world demands the qualities of the youth, not a time of life, but a state of mind, temper of will, quality of imagination, a predominance of courage over timidity, of the appetite over adventure, over the loss of ease." So these were the strong words from Robert Kennedy. I think we had a wonderful discussion with Sri Lal Goyal ji and a bunch of youth guests. So I would like to thank everybody for listening to me and for your wonderful patience. Thanks again. Thanks, Lal Goyal ji, sir.
Thank you very much, Dr. Janeshwar Pai. So today you have seen that how the youth of today's time have their views, and their views are very, very clear that the families are dominating them. We, the civil society, has to think 10 times before taking any action or taking any decisions regarding the life future of a youth or a young child. Always consult them, not take unilateral decision. It happens many times that a parent, a father or a mother is frustrated for something and they just take out their frustration on the child. This is wrong. You must appreciate, after all, a child, never underestimate the intelligence of a child, because child is learning from you, the parents. And when the child is learning from the parents, so then you must understand that your own intelligence is with the child. And if you just consider, ask the child whether she or he likes this thing, definitely the child will give his or her opinion. And that matters a lot. And that will imbibe the decision making from the very early age in every child. And I will again repeat, the youth should be the leader. They are the leader. We always consider them like bachcha hai. No. बच्चे मन के सच्चे होते हैं. They are real, the truth fellows. They don't have the vices. They don't have the corrupt practices or the corrupt mind like the elders. I always want that youth should lead the country. Youth should lead the nation. Youth should lead the society. But for that, youth should work from the house level, from the home. And that is what our main aim under the Gyan and the Global TV and the V4 News. We want to bring out the youth energy, because everywhere, if you see the developed countries, that the success lies with the young brains, young mindset, and that is what is required. If any one of you who are watching these shows or who have already participated, if they want to join themselves, or they want their friends or relatives wants to join this particular show, they can contact Global TV or V4 group, so that they can be enrolled and they can join and express their views. Because if you will not express your views on a public platform, then how you would like to be a decision maker in future. Thank you very much. And today's program has been live telecasted by V4 News, Global TV, V4 Stream, Malnadu TV, News Gaon se, Samvad Sarokar News, as well as it was shown live on Facebook and YouTube. And our endeavor is to bring to you every day new topic. And tomorrow the topic is the pursuit of happiness. And our participants, the guests are, panelists are Dr. C.V. Anand Bose, IAS, one-man expert commission of labor on labor, Government of India. Yogacharya Swami Sri Venu Das, eminent international spiritual poet, singer and musician based at Paris. Miss Sri Kumari Ramchandran, renowned author, writer and orator, Kochi. Miss Padmajas Menon, managing trustee of Mitra Equal Opportunity Trust, Cochin. Please do join media conference with Lal Goyal at 10:30 a.m. To watch this show. Thank you very much, Dr. Janeshwar Pai Marur, for giving such a inspirational, motivational talk. I'm sure all the youths who have participated and who are viewing our program are going to be benefited, and also all the parents, all the senior citizens. It's a lesson to them. They must give respect to the views of the youth, because this is the youth views which they have openly mentioned, whether she is a 8th standard student or working in an organization or studying in a higher class. They all are of the same view, that the parents must give respect to the views of the children, whether young or even a bit elder. Thank you very much, and thank you all the youth who have participated with us today, and thank you all the viewers for watching our show. Thank you very much.